On that occasion, it took nearly 3 months for Israelis and Palestinians to broker a peace and reach an open-ended ceasefire. Mr. Netanyahu, speaking on Sunday, warned that the current operation would take time. The current conflict has already settled into a steady if deadly routine, with 2 main battles being waged, one in the skies above Gaza and another in the tunnels below. Israeli experts often describe periodic campaigns as mowing the grass, a kind of routine maintenance of the militant threat with the aim of curbing rocket fire, destroying as much of militant groups' infrastructure as possible and increasing deterrence. Critics say the use of such terminology is dehumanizing to Palestinians and tends to minimize the suffering inflicted, including the toll on civilians. And the dangers of the strategy became evident on Sunday, the deadliest day of the fighting, with at least 42 people killed, including at least 10 children, after an attack on a tunnel network caused 3 buildings to collapse. That strike badly damaged a medical clinic run by the aid group Doctors Without Borders, forcing it to close, and others have done damage to other medical facilities. In the past week, Israeli strikes in Gaza have killed 212 people, including 61 children, and wounded about 1,400, according to the health authorities there, drawing condemnation across the world and leading to protests that have taken place in recent days in cities including Baghdad, Berlin, and London. Rocket fire from Gaza has killed at least 10 people in Israel. The Israeli army said that in its third wave of attacks on the network early Monday, it employed 54 warplanes, releasing 110 rockets and bombs on around 35 targets for some 20 minutes. But even under sustained military bombardment, Hamas militants based in Gaza still managed to unleash a barrage of missiles into southern Israel, more than 3,100 since the start of the conflict a week ago, according to the Israeli military. Many of the rockets were intercepted by the Israeli defense system known as the Iron Dome. For much of the 8 days of fighting between Israel and the militant groups in Gaza, eyes on both sides have turned upward, scanning the skies for imminent airstrikes or incoming rocket fire. Increasingly, though, the focus of Israel's battle plan has shifted underground. Early on Monday, dozens of fighter jets conducted a third wave of strikes against what the Israeli military has called the Hamas metro system, an underground network of defensive tunnels that militants are said to use to travel undetected and move rockets and other munitions. The military has described the network as a city beneath the city, much of it under civilian infrastructure. The tunnels are also meant to complicate any Israeli ground invasion. Hamas has warned in the past that it would surprise Israeli soldiers should they enter the coastal territory. The Israeli airstrikes began after Hamas militants fired a salvo of rockets toward Jerusalem on May 10. Among the first targets, officials said, were some offensive tunnels dug by Hamas that stopped short of the Israeli side of the border. Israel has constructed an underground barrier with sensors to detect tunnels crossing into its territory, but still wanted to thwart any possibility of militants emerging from tunnels very close to the border and then attacking military posts or rushing the fence. In parallel, the military says its airstrikes have been aimed against rocket launchers and rocket production facilities, militant commanders, their homes and several high-rise buildings. The military says that Hamas utilizes these towers, in part, for military purposes, but has not publicly offered evidence of Hamas activities in those buildings, including one, the Jalaa tower, that housed the offices in Gaza of the Associated Press and Al Jazeera. Hamas on Monday denied operating in the building.